Imagine stepping back in time over 400 years ago to the rugged, untamed coast of what we now call North Carolina. A group of more than 100 Englishmen, women, children, land on Roanoke Island, filled with hopes of building a new life in a new world. They are pioneers, the first English attempt at a permanent settlement in North America. But just 3 years later, when a supply ship returns, they are gone, vanished. The only clue left behind is a single cryptic word carved into a post: CROATOAN. This is the story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke, America's oldest and most haunting unsolved mystery. What happened to them? Today, we're going to dive deep into the theories, the evidence, and the enduring questions that have captivated historians and treasure hunters for centuries. Our story begins in 1587, under the ambitious eye of Queen Elizabeth I and the financial backing of Sir Walter Raleigh. He dreamed of an English empire in the Americas, a Virginia to rival Spain's growing power. The leader of this brave new venture was John White, an artist and cartographer who would serve as the colony's governor. Among the colonists was his own daughter, Eleanor Dare, who shortly after their arrival gave birth to the first English child born in the New World, Virginia Dare. It was a symbol of hope, a sign that their new home could flourish. But their optimism was short-lived. Relations with the local Native American tribes were tense from the start, a mix of cautious trade and violent skirmishes. Supplies dwindled much faster than anticipated. The colonists realized they couldn't survive the coming winter without help. Faced with a desperate situation, they convinced Governor John White to return to England to plead for more supplies and reinforcements. It was a journey he didn't want to make, leaving behind his daughter, his granddaughter, and the entire community he was meant to lead. He promised to return as quickly as possible within a few months, but fate had other plans. When White arrived back in England, he found a nation in crisis. The mighty Spanish Armada was preparing to attack, and every available ship was commandeered for the war effort. White was trapped, unable to secure a vessel for his return journey. For 3 long, agonizing years, he tried and failed to get back to his colony, his family. His heart must have ached with every passing day, wondering if they were safe, if they were starving, if they were even still alive. Finally, in August of 1590, on his granddaughter Virginia's 3rd birthday, John White landed once more on Roanoke Island. The shore was eerily quiet. He called out, but only the sea breeze answered. As he and his men approached the settlement, a sense of dread must have filled them. The homes, the fortifications, everything was gone. The entire village had been carefully dismantled, not destroyed in a violent raid. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, no graves. It was as if the colonists had simply packed up and walked away. The only clues were 2 carvings. On a tree, the letters C-O were etched, and on a nearby fort post, the full word CROATOAN. This was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras Island, and also the name of a friendly Native American tribe. White had an agreement with the colonists. If they had to leave, they would carve their destination into a tree. If they were in danger, they would add a Maltese cross. There was no cross. This gave White hope. They weren't in distress. They had simply relocated. He was desperate to sail to CROATOAN Island, just 50 miles south, to find them. But a powerful storm was brewing. The ship's captain, fearing for his vessel and crew, refused to risk the journey. His anchor cable broke, forcing the ship further out to sea. Defeated and heartbroken, John White was forced to sail back to England. He would never see America, his daughter, or his granddaughter Virginia Dare again. He died a few years later, never knowing what became of his lost colony. And with his failure to reach CROATOAN, the trail went cold for over 400 years. So what really happened? This is where history ends and speculation begins, giving rise to numerous theories that have been debated for centuries. Let's explore the most compelling ones. The most straightforward theory, and the one John White himself believed, is that the colonists moved to CROATOAN Island. They were low on supplies and perhaps felt safer living among the friendly CROATOAN people. Over time, they may have assimilated, intermarrying and adopting the local culture. For generations, people living on Hatteras Island, the descendants of the CROATOAN tribe, passed down oral histories of ancestors with gray eyes who could read from a book. In the late 1800s, a historian noted that many members of this community had English surnames and physical traits that suggested European ancestry. More recently, archaeological digs on Hatteras Island have uncovered English artifacts from the right time period, like a sword hilt and pottery fragments, mixed in with Native American items. This suggests some form of cohabitation. It's a peaceful, hopeful theory. The colonists didn't vanish, they just became part of a new community. They survived. But there are other, darker possibilities. Another popular theory is that the colonists were attacked and wiped out. But by whom? One candidate is the Spanish. The Spanish saw the English colony as a threat to their own claims in the New World and as a potential base for English pirates. Did a Spanish force sail up from Florida and destroy the settlement? While possible, there's no record of such an attack in Spanish archives, and it doesn't explain why the colonists would have dismantled their own home so neatly. A more likely aggressor, if there was one, would be a hostile Native American tribe. Relations were not good with all the local groups. It's plausible that after John White left, a conflict erupted, leading to the colony's destruction. This would explain the disappearance, but it doesn't quite fit with the lack of bodies or signs of a battle, or the cryptic CROATOAN message left behind. Was the message a clue or a deliberate misdirection? A third theory splits the difference. Perhaps the colonists didn't all go to one place. Facing starvation, they may have broken up into smaller groups to increase their chances of survival. Some might have tried to sail back to England on their own and were lost at sea. Others could have traveled inland, seeking refuge with various Native American tribes. This theory gained a lot of traction thanks to something called the Dare Stones. In the 1930s, a series of stones were found in Georgia and the Carolinas, allegedly carved with messages from Eleanor Dare, detailing the colonists' journey inland after a devastating attack at the settlement. The first stone seemed authentic, but the subsequent dozens were eventually exposed as a hoax, casting doubt on the entire find. However, the idea that the colonists split up remains compelling. Recent archaeological evidence, including 16th-century English pottery found at sites inland from Roanoke, suggests some colonists may indeed have moved west and lived with native groups. It's possible there isn't one single explanation, but several. The colonists may have met multiple fates. So where does that leave us today? The mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke endures precisely because we can't be certain. There is no smoking gun, no definitive proof for any one theory. Was it assimilation with the CROATOAN people? A violent attack? A desperate migration inland? Or a combination of all three? Modern science is bringing us closer to an answer. Archaeologists continue to dig on Roanoke and Hatteras Islands, and new DNA studies are trying to trace potential genetic links between modern descendants of native tribes and the English colonists. Each newly discovered artifact, each piece of evidence, adds another layer to this incredible story. The colonists of Roanoke were not just characters in a history book. They were real people with hopes and fears, just like us. They were families seeking a better life. Their story is a powerful reminder of the risks and sacrifices made by the earliest American pioneers. Their fate may be lost to time, but their legacy, this enduring mystery, is woven into the very fabric of American history.